Great. Thank you very much, Jean-Philippe. Up next, we have Abitibi Metals Corp. Abitibi Metals is a Canadian exploration company advancing both gold and critical metal projects in Quebec. Please help me welcome Jonathon Deluce, President, Chief Executive Officer, and Director of Abitibi Metals Corp.
Hi everyone, appreciate your time today to learn about Abitibi Metals. We're traded on the CSC under the ticker AMQ and the OTC under the ticker AMQFF. So I'll be making some forward-looking statements in today's presentation. So a bit about myself and how we came to be at Abitibi Metals. I'm a member of a family office based out of Toronto and London, Ontario. We're most known for the airline business as the founders of Porter Airlines, in addition to Air Quebec, founding partners of Air Quebec. We're also in the real estate sector and in mining. So we've been in mining for 25 years, largely as a private prospect generator, developing a royalty portfolio, in addition to being financiers, directors in the space. But about 5-6 years ago, we decided to launch an early stage exploration company for this cycle to really take advantage on what we think is very strong market conditions, leading to huge demand for gold, copper, and commodities in general. So we're not perma gold or commodity bulls, but we recognize the opportunity currently in the sector, and we're diverting more capital into the space. So how we came to be and what was really a company-making acquisition in November of 2023 was the acquisition of our B26 deposit, which we have optioned from SOCAM. SOCAM is essentially a government subsidiary financed by Investment Quebec, and they developed this project over 20 years. So this deposit had never been in a public company since we optioned this back in November of 2023. So from an unbiased perspective, I'm not from the province of Quebec, but when I was trusted with family capital to build an exploration business, there is no question that, in our point of view, Quebec is the best mining jurisdiction in Canada. You have great government partners like SOCAM that have led to really what has been the opportunity that we've leveraged to grow our company. In addition to strong institutional shareholders, we currently have investment from a CDEX and NQ, and also our strong First Nations partners. Whether it was in the airline business or today in mining, it's essential to build those strong partnerships for success. So really, within the first year and a half that we've had the B26 deposit, we've been able to accomplish a lot, but we think we're just getting started. So we've grown the resource by 63% in 1 year. In terms of copper, we've increased the contained copper by 39%. So on a combined basis, this is an 18.5 million ton deposit at just under 2.2% copper equivalent, or 3.5 grams gold. To put this in a gold perspective, in a gold-dominated Abitibi Greenstone Belt, this is 2,050,000 ounces of gold. So a very significant development opportunity within the province. So we have $18.5 million in our treasury. We are fully financed through to Q1 of 2027. We just completed a bought deal with the Bank of Montreal in April, $11.5 million with some large institutions, very supportive shareholders that I believe see the value in B26. So our market cap as of today is $38 million, with $18 million in cash for an EV of $20 million. I'm not proud to say that today, but it's a real challenge and what I think highlights the opportunity of where we're at in the market as of today. So really, without financing pressure, we're really driven to get our story out there. This was an asset that was government developed for 20 years, and I think is still very unknown to the market, but we're excited to really highlight the hard work of SOCAM and what we've been able to accomplish in a year and a half. 153 million shares outstanding. We issued no warrants on the $33 million that we've raised over the last year and a half, essentially. And myself, my family office, we've put in over $4.5 million. We own 27% of the company, so we're really well aligned with our shareholders, because really why we got into the public markets is the lack of prudent management of capital. So looking at where we are in the Abitibi Greenstone Belt, we're in the northern Abitibi on the same east-west as Detour, so the northern portion of that slide. We have the historical Sal Bay mine within 7 kilometers, which is important because the Sal Bay mine produced 53 million tons of similar polymetallic material over 20 years. And we have a power line that runs through the project, all year access. We're drilling at less than $250 all in Canadian. So it's really an area that has strong supporting infrastructure in an area that everybody wants to see development. So looking at, zooming in, we have Fenelon, we have Detour Lake on the Ontario side, we have Casa Berardi to the south, we have the Metagami mine and complex to the east. So the Sal Bay mine and area is very underexplored, but it has hosted what is one very large-scale deposit, which is the Sal Bay mine. As I said, 53 million tons of production, resource sizes of 57 million tons, and SOCAM made a new discovery to the northwest of us on the other side of the Sal Bay mine, which is the Wakasik discovery. So still very underexplored area of the belt, and we're excited to be here. And really, this is 18.5 million tons in one continuous deposit, and we think we could be scratching the surface of a much larger system. So again, to put into context what is the value of what we've established as of today, this is already in the top 10% in terms of tonnage of felsic-hosted VMS deposits worldwide. So again, high-grade polymetallic is very hard to find, very few competing deposits within Canada, and really with a renewed focus on critical metals, especially copper, gold, you look at the majors that they say the most sought-after deposit right now is copper gold, especially with high grade. So that's why we're quite excited with the opportunity we have at B26. So zooming in, 130,000 meters of drilling went into our 2024 resource. Our phase 2 drill program was not included in the resource, so that's still upside that we had at the end of last year. 11.3 million tons indicated, 7.2 inferred, and to note, high gold credit for a primary copper deposit. So we've modeled the gold on its own. We think there's upside in the gold. Gold makes up 20% of the value of the deposit, with copper making 60%, with the balance being within the massive sulfide zinc-silver lens that occurs parallel. So this shows the orientation of the deposit. The majority, 80% of the resources in the copper-gold strainer, with the 20% balance within the parallel massive sulfide zinc-silver. So again, this is a 1.6 kilometer strike down to 800 meters vertical with widely spaced drilling. So really, this is a large-scale starting footprint, mirrors some of the largest systems in the Abitibi. So this summarizes what we were able to achieve in 2024. We drilled 30,000 meters. We were able to increase the resource, as I mentioned. We extended the deposit to the east, to the west, expanded the high-grade lens, 11.4% copper equivalent over 10.6 meters. We hit 5 samples in a row over 20 grams gold. So there is high-grade gold pockets of this deposit, and something that we're quite excited to understand and really hone in on the gold controls and how they differ from the copper strainer zones. So really taking a step back at the end of last year, and what we felt was a big disconnect in our market cap versus the underlying value of B26, is really when we meet with the majors, some of the metrics that they give us as to what would interest them to get involved. Some of the mid-tiers have said 10-year mine life, 100,000 ounce per year gold equivalent production, and a strong cost profile. We look at the deposit as of today, we have a pathway to those first 2 buckets. The key question is the costs. Is this an economic deposit to develop? That led to us modeling out the high-grade zone, as you can see on the slide. That is a core portion of the deposit above 3% copper equivalent. And one thing to note, if we were to use current gold prices, our copper grade on an equivalent basis would go up roughly 0.3 to 0.4%. So the impact of the gold credit is a significant item. But really, The high-grade zone is where we see the path to economic development as of today. We're doing scoping studies to influence where we're drilling. Breaking down our budget for this year and pathway through to 2026, we are fully funded for 45,000 meters of drilling. 20 of that will be done this year, with 25,000 next year. So we're in a very good position in what is still a tough junior mining market. We've removed the financing risk for at least a year and a half. We will start 2027 with $3 million of hard cash, so we can focus on delivering at B26 and getting our story out there. So again, with this being developed by strong government partners, if this was developed by a major or junior, this would have been drilled off before it was ever sold to us. So this deposit is truly open. We've identified key areas for our phase 3 drill program that's going to start in 2 weeks with 2 drills, ramp up to 3 drills in July, drill at least 17,500 meters through to the end of the year. So we'll have what we believe is high impact drilling. That is focused on expansional up to 500 meters away from the deposit, incorporating downhole geophysics to look at the larger potential extensions of the B26 deposit. We also, as you can see in purple, that is a gravity anomaly that we've discovered at depth in the 4th quarter of last year. Some of the intercepts that cut the boundaries of that anomaly had narrow, semi-massive to massive sulfide, very high-grade pockets of the deposit. And one of our theses is we have the massive sulfide unit in the zinc-silver, but the copper-gold is, as I said, hosted in a stringer zone, but we haven't seen a massive copper zone yet. But with the strength of this system, it is something that we're targeting as really a source of what is a very large deposit footprint as of today. So looking property-wide, B26 is a 1.6 kilometer strike of what is an 8.3 kilometer trend. We've identified other targets using ground gravity and a VTEM survey that will be released over the coming weeks. And we've been able to demonstrate that there's strong targets outside of the B26 footprint. VMS deposits occur in clusters. We have B26, we have Sal Bay, as you can see, on the northwest border, and we have the new exciting discovery by SOCAM at Wakosik. So we think the potential to make another discovery is there with the data that we have so far, and if we're able to make a secondary discovery on the property, it can really excite the market, whether that's to the west or northwest between us and Sal Bay. There really has been limited exploration here outside of B26. Looking at our option agreement with SOCAM, we announced that we now are 50% owners of the project on Tuesday. We are fully funded to earn 80% on completion of the 80%. It'll be a joint venture, 80% Abitibi, 20% SOCAM, and with them holding an underlying royalty of a 2% NSR with a 1% buyback. So very strong partners. They're aligned with us to see this developed into a mine and leading to a liquidity event for our shareholders and ourselves as the largest shareholders of the company. We pride ourselves on prudent management of capital. I think we have one of the healthiest G&A to exploration burns in the business. 16% this year G&A, 84% exploration. Our budget is published for 2026 of what is our current treasury position. We'll still have roughly $3 million of hard cash to start 2027. So really in a position with no warrants issued on the company, great opportunity to review the company on what I think will be a very high impact rest of the year. So a lot of juniors put Foran in their deck as a comparison. Very, very few have the grade and scale in comparison that we have at B26. So we have a grade that's higher as of today than Foran. We have 43% of the resource. But this is a good example of when you have the right financial backing. As I mentioned, we had a bought deal with BMO, bringing in some very strong institutional shareholders in the recent financing. But hitting that hole or getting potential economics out there, you don't know where that torque is going to come from, but we've put ourselves in a position to perform, and that's what we're excited about. And you can see that there's a lot of demand within Canada for these high-grade deposits. Again, looking at the size of the footprint compared to some of the other deposits, well, Foran and LaRonde, again, these are deep-seated systems, and we think we could be scratching the surface. So looking at our cap structure, as I said, 153 million shares out, very limited overhang on the stock, and myself, family office own 27%, SOCOM owns 9.9%, institutions own 25%. Touching on the team briefly, Laurent and Louis joined recently with Laurent's background from Agnico, portfolio manager of Sidex, and also developed the Casperarty mine 45 kilometers to the southwest. Louis Garipri, with his success at O3 Mining, is as VP of Exploration, complemented by a very strong advisory board. And I'm out of time, but greatly appreciate all of your time to learn about our story at Abitibi.